Howie Roseman is working that Howie Roseman magic. That's what's going on.
If you are a big NFL fan, you probably know that Howie Roseman, the Philadelphia Eagles general manager, is one of the best general managers in the NFL. And part of why Howie Roseman is known as such a good general manager is the amount of trades that he makes and how many work out for the Eagles. In Howie Roseman's 13-year career as the Eagles general manager, he has made around 100 trades. Now, a lot of them are small trades. They're like trading this year's 7th round pick for next year's 6th round pick or something like that. But Howie just is constantly doing something. And over the past several years, he has found one trade partner that he really likes, and that is the Tennessee Titans. And everyone knows about the AJ Brown trade and the Byard trade that just happened, but in today's video I will break down the complete history of the Titans trading to the Eagles, and it is way more in depth than you thought it would be. To start it off, in 2014 there was a classic Howie draft day trade where the Eagles moved up 12 spots in the second round to pick Jordan Matthews. Now, there were some other great wide receivers out there, like Devontae Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL, or one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But the Eagles traded a second and a fourth to move up 12 spots. However, from the 3 players taken, Jordan Matthews actually ended up being the best player, and that's not saying much. Next up, in 2016, the Eagles traded DeMarco Murray and their 4th round pick to the Titans for the Titans' 4th round pick. Essentially, this was just getting rid of DeMarco Murray's contract because he really was terrible for the Eagles. Like, bringing my mind back to 2016, he was brought in, there was a lot of hype. He was kind of felt like replacing LaShawn McCoy because he came in right after, and then he was bad all year. But this is just another kind of nothing trade where all it really did was strengthen the connection between these two franchises that we see develop through the years. Then the third trade later in 2016, they swapped players in the middle of training camp. The Eagles traded Dennis Kelly to the Titans, who was an offensive lineman who played a decent amount for the Titans, and the Eagles got Darrell Green Beckham, who was a very hyped up wide receiver prospect who had like the body of AJ Brown, but was just terrible on and really off the field, and he turned into absolutely nothing. This was back in the days when the Eagles had the worst wide receiver core in the NFL, but thankfully we're not there anymore. The next year, in 2017, the Eagles traded their 5th round pick for a 5th and a 6th, so the Titans moved up a few spots to pick linebacker Jayon Brown, who did not really turn into much, and the Eagles picks didn't turn into much either. So once again, this is just building a relationship, and Howie kind of does this with a lot of teams. He slightly will increase his draft capital. I mean, he gained a 6th round pick out of this for almost nothing, and whenever he wants to make a trade, he has a friend to call. And so far, it's not like the Eagles have really fleeced him at all. These have all been very even trades that help both teams. And Howie has even said in the past that how he makes so many trades is that he tries to find something that makes sense for both sides. Now, of course, he wants it to work for him more because, he wants to win. But he's not going out there just trying to rob people, partially because that's not going to work. I'm sure if someone offered him a super lopsided trade in the Eagles' favor, he would take it, but he doesn't intentionally go out there trying to trick people or anything like that. And then the next trade, the one that you're probably waiting for, the big trade, the AJ Brown trade. If you've made it this far into the video, please consider liking and subscribing and leaving a comment down below. But back to the video.
AJ Brown?
They traded for AJ Brown?
Get out of the way! Get out of the way! I'm like on Christmas right now.
So in 2022, the Eagles traded for AJ Brown on draft day, and it really completed the Super Bowl roster for the Eagles. And they ended up trading a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick, which turned into Treylon Burks, who has been injured and really hasn't shown much so far, and the 3rd round pick got traded by the Titans. But there's more to this trade when you look into it. So it's a little confusing because in 2021, just the year before, the Titans were 12-5 and were a very good team. And the years before that, they were a really good team as well. And this came from two things. I guess three things. A good defense, a great running game with Derrick Henry, and then an amazing play action pass where they would throw it to AJ Brown and he would make huge plays. So the 1-2 punch of Derrick Henry and AJ Brown led this team to 12-5 and being one of the best teams in the NFL. So coming off a 12-5 season, why would you get rid of your best offensive prospect? And the reason is kind of two parts. The biggest thing is that he needed to sign a contract and the Titans quite simply didn't want to pay him. And this year, the wide receiver contracts were absolutely exploding, going from like $20 million to $25 to almost $30 million for a wide receiver, which used to be unheard of. However, that's where the market is now. So if you want a top 10, top 5, top 3 NFL wide receiver like AJ Brown, you have to be willing to set the market and pay whatever it takes. So they weren't willing to do that. And why weren't they willing to do that? A major part is that AJ Brown has had a decent injury history, especially when he was with the Titans, and they were worried about his knees. So if you're worried about someone's knees, you need them to run fast, run hard, you probably don't want to pay him $100 million. But the Eagles, obviously, on the other hand, weren't that concerned. And so far, it has not been any issue at all. He has hardly been hurt. And this year, he's looking like the best wide receiver in the NFL and has been a big part of why the Eagles only have one loss so far. So you kind of saw they had this connection they built up, how he kept on making small trades. And then when he sees the opportunity, bam, he makes a huge trade, completely changes the team. And, the rest is history. But there are more trades since then. So just a few months after that, the Eagles traded a safety they had signed up during training camp. They traded Ugo Amadi to the Titans and a 7th for a 6th round pick. So, just kind of, you're going to cut him, you might as well trade him type thing. And then this year, how he strikes again, probably the second biggest trade in between the Titans and the Eagles. And that is trading for Kevin Byard. So if you don't know him, he is a multi-time all-pro safety. He is a little old, he's 30 years old, but that still can give him a few really solid years on the Eagles. And with the Titans not being as good, they probably didn't want to keep an older defensive back because there aren't that many defensive backs that play into their mid-30s. Except on the Eagles, I guess, because almost all the Eagles defensive backs are over 30 at this point. But the Eagles got the all-pro safety to shore up the defense and really make a good attempt at going for another Super Bowl appearance and hopefully a win this year. And the Titans got Terrell Edmunds, who was an okay safety. The Eagles signed him. He used to be on the Steelers. He has not looked that good this year, but he is kind of, I would say, backup safety worthy. So I guess if you're a bad team, you can start him. But if you're going for the Super Bowl, not ideal to start him. And the Eagles also traded a 5th and a 6th round pick. So he wasn't that expensive. But since the Eagles had the relationship there, the Titans knew, hey, if we want to trade a decent player who's older, maybe the Eagles will be interested. And, they were. So that is the complete history of the Titans to Eagles pipeline. It kind of feels a little unusual that the Eagles have gotten a few all-pro players from the Titans in the past 2 years. But as you saw in the video, it's not just random. It happens strategically from Howie Roseman, the best GM in the NFL. And he's really building probably the best roster in the NFL once again. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully the Eagles, never lose another game. But if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment down below, and I'll see you later.